Hello everybody, and welcome back to Insider's Guide. Today, we're discussing the smallest resort I've ever made an Insider's Guide for. Today, we're discussing Eldora. A huge thank you to Uzi for sponsoring this video. More on that later. With that, let us begin an Insider's Guide to Ski Resorts, Eldora. Eldora, somehow, isn't all that well known of a ski area. It's small, and I get that, but it's only an hour from downtown Denver. If you're flying in on a ski vacation, I would highly recommend trying a day at Eldora. It's especially good if you're just learning, or are a lower level skier, to hit Eldora for a day before heading to the big mountains of the I-70 corridor. Eldora can get busy, but it's generally not too bad. When compared to the traffic, crowds, and lines of the big I-70 resorts, it's nothing. Now, starting over on the left side of this trail map, you can see Eldora's tangled mess of a beginner area. I can only state this as an opinion, but I believe that Eldora's trails are generally easier than those of other ski areas. I would generally consider a blue at Eldora to be the same difficulty of an upper level green at a resort like Winter Park or Crested Butte. Thus, these trails over here are pretty easy, even the blues. On any given day, they'll be running a combination of these chairlifts, but it seems pretty rare to me that all of them are running. In all honesty, I don't pay attention to beginner areas too much. All these blues on this side have been turned into terrain park and race terrain. The only true out-of-base lift at Eldora is Alpenglow, a chairlift that in my opinion is one of the most visually pleasing lifts you'll see anywhere. Alpenglow has a mammoth capacity of 3,600 people per hour, which is the same capacity as the massive Gondola 1 at Vail. As such, lines are rare and anything that does form moves lightning quick. That's one of the best things about Eldora. At most ski areas I would say to get out of the base area and get as far away as possible, but at Eldora, frontside laps are just as viable as those on the backside. Off the top of Alpenglow, a majority of people choose to go right, down Hornblower, to either head to the other lifts or to take a lap down International. As such, Hornblower to International is the busiest run in all of Eldora. If you're looking to lap blue groomers, I would highly recommend going left off of Alpenglow and skiing Jolly Jug and or Powderhorn. In the center here are Cannonball Run and Challenge, which are two top-to-bottom mogul blacks. These are often quite quiet because most people who desire to ski blacks head to the Corona lift off the top of Alpenglow. These Jolly Jug glades are actually pretty darn steep, and they're much less busy, albeit smaller than the glades off Corona, which we'll talk about in a minute. There are also a few other groomed blues that shoot off and onto the Hornblower International route. The 4 o'clock trail here is an overglorified road. I would try to take International if at all possible, although Klondike can also be quite nice. Now, let's move to the Indian Peaks pod. Upper Diamondback here is often left ungroomed and can develop moguls. Lower Diamondback, which is a blue groomer, can be accessed by Sidewinder, this little cut through right here. Lower Ambush is also a blue groomer. Upper Ambush here is pretty steep with moguls. The Indian Peaks lift line is extreme just because it is narrow. It's steep and has a lot of natural obstacles, but what puts it over is that it's narrow. The Indian Peaks lift itself rarely gets lines, as it is primarily used to access Corona and is rarely lapped. Alright, now for the most popular terrain in all of Eldora, the Corona pod. This Corona road is exactly what it sounds like, a road. It will, however, get you to Corona if you're willing to push along it. The overwhelmingly more popular run to get to Corona is around the Horn. Hornblower off of Alpenglow is busy because it carries both the traffic for International and the traffic for around the Horn. Coming off of Alpenglow, you can also access this black Muleshoe by staying high on this Corona traverse. Both around the Horn and Muleshoe are groomed. Around the Horn is as steep as a blue at the top of the run here, but then flattens out and is much more mellow along this length. Muleshoe has one steep section, about right here, but it's otherwise only as steep as a blue. I love Muleshoe because it's super wide, so it's a great place to get some speed and cruise. These placer glades are extremely steep and dense, and I consider them to be the second hardest skiing in all of Eldora. The Corona lift can get busy at times, but as is with all of Eldora, it generally isn't all that bad. Off the left of the top of Corona are a pair of blues which get you back to the Alpenglow side of the mountain. Pipeline is extremely flat and requires quite a bit of pushing, so I would highly recommend taking Wayback instead. Also off the left are 3 blacks and 2 glades. These 3 blacks are sometimes groomed and sometimes not. If you're just looking to ski groomers, you can go a long way back and look down Wolftongue, Alpenhorn, and Redtail, and if none are groomed, you can keep going to Muleshoe. Gully Glades and Bryan's Glades are some of the less difficult glades on the mountain, but they're also some of the busiest. This run, Corona, has to be my favorite run in all of Eldora. It's super wide, pretty steep, and it's a black groomer. I could lap that run for days. Cascade is just a little shoot off of Corona that isn't typically groomed. Off the right of the top of Corona Lift is the vast majority of Eldora's extreme terrain. You traverse along a narrow little cat track here, with the option to drop into Salto Glades. These are extremely steep and, in my opinion, are the hardest terrain at Eldora. West Ridge is a cut run, with trees dotting throughout, but its two primary features are large moguls and extreme steeps at the top. Down below, the Moose Glades are not quite as extreme as the Salto Glades, but they are still extremely steep. Well, that's about it for Eldora. Thank you all so much for watching, and again, thank you to Uzi for sponsoring this video. All my love, I'm out.